Welcome to the Founder Podcast. I'm Magnus Olson and I'm joined today by rugby league legend Justin Hodges and Big Benny Marr. Welcome, boys.
Welcome.
Thanks, mate.
And today we've got a special guest is Thomas Lilley, founder of Xero. Welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Mate, firstly, can you just explain for our listeners exactly what is powerlifting?
Yeah, powerlifting is a sports competitive weightlifting. It's made up of 3 lifts: squat, bench press, and deadlift. And the way it works is you do 3 attempts of each lift, and the best successful attempt is added together from each discipline. That gets you a total. Biggest total wins.
Fantastic, mate. And maybe just share with a couple of your accolades, because I believe you're known as arguably Australia's best powerlifting coach, and you also hold a number of records yourself. Is that right?
Yeah. My records aren't that great, but the people I coach have done some amazing things. So I've coached over 60 people to 300 kilo plus squats and deadlifts in competition. I've coached over 20 people to 500 pound bench presses or more in competition. That's 227.5. I coach Australia's biggest ever bencher, Australia's #1 in several weight categories. So like different people in different weight categories I coach the #1 of. I coach the strongest ever teenager in the world, the strongest ever junior lifter in the world. So that's age 20 to 23. And after November this year, fingers crossed, I'll coach the strongest powerlifter ever. We've got a guy that should break that record. And that's just a small list amongst many. Yeah.
Hey, congratulations. That's a pretty impressive lot of blokes that you're coaching, mate. So fantastic. Now, can you just share a bit of your backstory for us and how that has led to you building a powerlifting empire?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been involved in the sport of powerlifting since I was about 18 years old. I actually studied nutrition at university, so I worked for the government as a nutritionist. And when Campbell Newman came in Queensland and got rid of all the preventative health staff, I had to do something else. So I opened a gym. I had no formal training in coaching anybody. I didn't have my personal training certificates. I'd never coached a person in my life. I just opened a gym and started helping people with powerlifting. And over the years, got pretty good at it. And so now fast forward, that was 12 years ago. We turned 12 next month. I've taken it from 1 gym with a couple of members to now 8 gyms in 3 countries and over 1,000 clients.
What about early on in your upbringing in your childhood? Because I believe you're a bit of a BMX star, is that right?
Oh, it definitely wasn't a star. Definitely wasn't a star, but that was my chosen love. I always wanted to play ice hockey. I played like 2 games in high school, and then I moved to Australia and didn't get into it over here. Over here, I found BMX and competed in freestyle BMX. So that's the one they just introduced to the Olympics with ramps and tricks and all that kind of stuff. So I did that up until I was about 22, maybe. I had a bad spill, cracked up my head pretty bad, ended up in hospital for a couple of days and thought my brain's more important to me than riding a children's bicycle. So focused on powerlifting instead.
Fantastic.
Now going back to like obviously with powerlifting and the setbacks and the mental scars and the challenges and stuff, how did you deal with it? But then also some of those wonderful athletes that you just told us about, how do they deal with mental setbacks in terms of injuries or going up to try and lift a weight that they know they can do it, but then sometimes they fail on the big stage, and how do they change their mindset to try and get that again?
It's very interesting. Powerlifting has a very late inflection point, and you need to have a certain type of mindset to last in it. So you imagine playing rugby or playing league. From day one, you experience failure.
Can you imagine that, Justin?
What's that?
What's it like playing rugby league? Sorry, mate.
No. I know the name Justin Hodges, but I don't know rugby or rugby league. I'm just not. I don't know much about sports. But like day one, you experience failure in some sense, whether it's getting tackled, getting a big hit, or losing the game. In powerlifting, especially if you've got a coach from an early on, you don't really fail that much in training. And if you've got a good coach when you go to competition, you get good numbers and you typically don't fail that badly. And so it's only until, for most people, a couple of years in where you have a couple of really bad competitions in a row. And bear in mind, it's not like you're playing every week. Yep. You're doing two competitions a year. And so unless you've got the mental fortitude to be like, Am I quitting after this competition? No. Well, then there's always another competition. There's always an opportunity to learn and grow and get better. And so for me as a coach, that's what I try and instill in my lifters, is that this isn't it for you. This is an opportunity to learn, to grow and expand. But it's also the point that weeds out the good from the not so good in terms of mentality. And what you find at the top end of powerlifting is that they're all kind of cut from the same cloth. They've got that athletic mindset, which is just like, I'm going to do everything to get better at this thing, and a failure or a bump in the road here or there isn't going to be enough to stop me.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, I was giving you my next question in terms of what do you look for in a powerlifter? Like, is it about legs? Is it about upper body, or is it men? Like, what do you look for? Like, you just see
None of it. Yeah, that's what I love about it. Like, you can walk into a room and look at everyone in the room, a room full of powerlifters, and not know who the strongest is by looking at them. It's not always the biggest person. It's not always the person that you think, oh, they've got short arms, they must be good at bench press. A lot of the times you'd be surprised it ends up being the opposite. So it's less about that and more about qualities of, can you trust the process? Can you stick to a program? Are you consistent? Do you actually care about your performance in terms of prioritizing nutrition and sleep and training and showing up? They're the people that go the furthest.
So the coachable people.
Yeah.
And what is the most valuable lesson that you think that powerlifting has taught you over the years? Like, what's the thing that sits in your mind the most about, being an athlete or a coach?
Well, like the way I thought about this when I saw this question is, it's the Founder podcast, right? So like, I'm not much of an athlete these days, but taking from my career, my powerlifting career, if you could call it that, it's like there was no question. I mean, it's still like this these days. There's no question. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to prioritize my food. I'm going to train. I'm going to show up no matter how I feel, no matter what I do. It's discipline, but it's not discipline that takes effort. It's the same as brushing my teeth. I brush my teeth. It becomes a habit. It's habitual, right? And so what I've taken away from powerlifting in terms of a lesson is that if I can find out how to make things that aren't so fun a habit, if I can make business processes a habit, if I can make reaching out to more people or putting that time, energy, and effort into doing the reps of advertising and learning or working with my staff or building processes, my business gets better. It's just that habit of doing the reps, even if you don't like the work, showing up, being consistent.
So that would be the advice, that mental resilience that you spoke about earlier, just in relation to a lifter. That same goes for that fortitude to be able to be a business owner and to be a successful entrepreneur, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of the later questions in here, but it's there's this thing Elon Musk says about at the top of the company, it's not fun. You are literally the distillation of all the worst problems comes to you. That's your job. It's like, because you are the only person who can solve it. You don't spend time on the fun stuff a lot of the times. You're spending stuff on the things that need to be solved immediately. And I'm finding this, is the bigger that zero gets, the more problems there are, the more fires I have to put out. And that's become my job. It's not fun per se anymore, but it's extremely rewarding.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because I ran a construction company back a few years ago with 40 staff, and that's exactly how I used to put it, because you've got a chain of command. So that small problem gets dealt with at that level, it gets dealt at the next level, and then at the next level. And as soon as a problem comes to me, it's not a minor problem anymore. It's a major problem. Yeah. And if it was easy to fix, well, it would have already been fixed. So well said.
Yeah, there's always that graphic of like the bird at the top of the tree shitting on the next birds and the next bird. It's so much the opposite of that. The complete opposite of that.
I think, well, this sort of leads me to my next question, but can you share some of your secrets in terms of being successful, and also how do you make sure you keep growing your business wealth?
I think I've got almost an advantage in the sense that I don't really experience stress. Nothing really worries me or stresses me out. I'm pretty chill. And I think it's a really good thing and a really bad thing at the same time. I don't escalate things as quickly as I should, but also when shit's really hitting the fan, I don't freak out and I can make more objective decisions. So I don't know how much of a secret that is, but if something doesn't get done right now, nobody dies as a result of it most of the time.
I think it's a good trait. Like, I'm pretty much the same as you. Like, I'm a pretty relaxed type of person. Nothing really bothers me. Even my wife goes, how do How do you stop all that? What's it called? Not grief, but stress, and how do you deal with stress? But like 100%, I agree with you. Like someone who can handle that stuff is basically doing a great job. Yeah.
What about the process though? 'Cause I'm intrigued to understand the process of how you go about that level of business growth. So how many gyms have you opened now? You're up to
I've got 8 gyms.
8 gym.
And about 30 employees now.
Yeah. But when you went from 1 to 2 and then 2 to 3, each one, just tell us how you actually went about that process.
Very poorly. Just the same as the one before.
That's what we want to hear.
Yeah, no, literally just making it up as I go along. And it's only now that I've gotten to 8 in the last 3 that I've realized, because before it was just me and I was just telling people how to do it. And I had all the time in the world to just get on the phone every 10 minutes, be like, no, do this and this and this and this. But if I'm really going to scale this thing and maintain the quality of the product, I've realized that systemizing, structurizing every single process that matters towards the business has to be done. So my most recent step has been to hire a guy, we call him the BOD, Business Operations Director, and he's in charge of systemizing everything. So it allows me to do the stuff I'm good at, and he can do the stuff that's important for business.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think you've got one skill set to just take that plunge and become an entrepreneur and start that first business. But then the scaling is just another level altogether.
For sure. And I mean, we're all just making it up as we go along, right? And so you kind of just fuck around and find out, really. But if you can hire someone that's already done all the fucking around and finding out, I can take his 20 years of experience and then I don't have to make all those mistakes for the next 20 years. It's going to accelerate things like crazy.
100%.
So in your opinion, what's the most powerful form? I know you said you building it as you went, flying by the seat of your pants a little bit maybe, but what's been the most powerful form of marketing that you've sort of used over the last decade?
Yeah, I think in general, it's like the gym industry is funny, right? Because our niche gym is very reliant on having a presence in our niche. And so you can't use conventional gym marketing. It just doesn't work as well because we are so niche. Like you walk into one of my gyms, you're not going to see the same massive structure that you see in a World Gym or an EMF or one of the big box chains. We're not going to have the same amount of equipment. We're not going to have the same type of equipment even. And so like we have to be very relevant in our own niche. And so the best form of marketing in the early days was literally just results, was just showing that we can produce results better than everyone else in our niche. Mm-hmm. And now that the goal is slightly different in the sense of our target market is not powerlifters. We own powerlifting in Australia. Anyone who's in powerlifting already knows us. So our target market is people who are on the cusp of being a powerlifter. And so it's been a whole new learning experience to figure out who is that person, what's that avatar, where do they go, what do they do, how do they speak, what's important to them, to be able to reach out to them and get them in. And that's where the social media stuff has been absolutely paramount. It's changed our whole language around how we speak and how we structure our social media and all the paid advertising that we do as part of it.
How have you found, what sort of demographic have you found are joining up?
Honestly, in terms of like age, gender, it's very varied. So our split in powerlifting in general, so outside of Zero, I also co-own the biggest powerlifting federation in Australia. And the split in the federation is about 50-50 male to female. So that surprises a lot of people. A lot of people think it's a male sport. It's very much not. And Australia has the highest participation rate, I think, in the world of masters powerlifters. So we have a very high amount of older people over 40, joining up our gyms as well. So the demographic is less about the age and the gender and far more about where they're at in their training journey. So our demographic is very much the person that's already in the gym, already committed to a result, already consistent, already working hard. That tends to be the people we attract and can speak to the best.
Speaking of masters athletes, what's the oldest powerlifter that you've trained?
Are you keen?
Are
you keen?
Absolutely not, mate. Benny is.
We've got a few in our gyms in their 80s.
Wow.
We've got several in their 70s, 60s. Yeah. there's plenty of older men and women that are killing
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So you mentioned before about the process. Do you have a similar lot of processes for goal setting and strategies for your business growth? No.
I don't know how disappointing that is for people or you guys, but I don't have goals about anything ever. I'm very much right here and now. I don't have the ability to see in the future, and my mindset is if I set my sights on a particular goal and aim everything towards that, I may miss the opportunities or the change of direction that I need to take along the way. So I think goal setting is extremely important for certain types of people. I'm just not one of those types of people.
I love your authenticity and your honesty. Beautiful.
Yeah. So for me, I think, can you help us understand the role nutrition and obviously supplements play in the life of a bodylifter, and also what type of food do you guys eat?
I mean, it's not any different to most sports. It's like higher in protein.
Yep.
And making sure the main thing when it comes to nutrition is making sure that someone's eating enough to achieve whatever they're trying to achieve, whether that's improving strength or trying to put on mass at the time, or if they're trying to lose body fat to maximize what they can do inside their weight class, doing so in a fashion that still promotes them maintaining their strength. As far as supplements go, it's kind of like a as needs basis.
Yep.
If I was talking about supplements as far as powerlifting is concerned, creatine is pretty much the gold standard in terms of the most proven, most effective sort of supplement to take, and that would apply to any sport that has like an explosive component. Outside of that, it's really like people get away with not having to chug protein shakes every 5 minutes if you're eating a well-rounded diet. Like I said, my formal background is nutrition, so I'm a big believer in eating for long-term health as well as performance, and you can definitely do both. You don't need to the old school powerlifting stereotype is you just eat shit and get fat and that helps you lift weight, which is so outdated and archaic and just wrong. Like being fat doesn't make you lift better. It's just not how it works. Muscle is the thing that moves weight, so carrying too much excess body fat is just bad for your health and often bad for your performance as well.
Very, very well said, mate.
And what strategies, just to switch tones a little bit, what strategies, you obviously got an amazing team down at the gyms you own. What are the strategies that you use for recruiting new staff?
Yeah, sure. No one else in the powerlifting gym space in the world, as far as I know, I don't know every powerlifting gym ever in the world, has been able to replicate what we've done, which is open multiple locations in a fashion where if you come and see us on the Gold Coast and get technique help and programming, it's the same experience as if you see us in Cairns or Wales or New Zealand. People open gyms with the same name, but it's just four walls and gym equipment. It's not the same product. And so a couple of things that are really important to me when it comes to recruiting then is I don't hire coaches, established coaches, but rather I look for people who are good with people. Because that's what coaching is. It's all people stuff. Yeah. I've got the skills, the systems, the tools to teach someone how to be the coach that I need them to be. So I don't care about their ability to coach right now. And I think that's a big difference that I have with other gyms in my space is that people often look for established coaches and try and get them to bring clients across. And I look for good people. And all of my hiring has been done internally. It's all been done with people who are currently in the brand because I know them, or at least I know that they are committed to my brand. Like to work for Zero, you have to live and breathe Zero when it comes to training. Yep. And so, yeah, it's all been internal, and I think I'll keep it that way as long as I can, basically.
Well, that's an awesome process. So you've physically trained people up, and then they'll get, I guess, move into a higher position within the organisation.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yep. What's a common business rule that you disagree with?
I had a hard time thinking about this one because I'm not a
controversial.
I'm not a good business person, so I don't know what common business rules are. I feel like I manage people probably different to most. My mindset is very much that if my people are happy and well looked after and feel comfortable and safe and secure in their position, they won't leave, and it's paid off. No one really leaves.
How would you describe the way you manage your staff?
chill.
Chill.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, a high degree of freedom. It's very much like I would say most of them probably feel like they are mentored rather than managed. But yeah, I feel bad that I don't actually know many. Like, what is a business rule? What's a common business rule?
That's a good question.
Like, I don't know what that is.
Ben, you got one?
Oh, look, a lot of people talk about discipline and about daily behaviours and all this sort of stuff. I think what you said earlier, like what you were alluding to about individualism and about just following your own path and not missing the moment that's right in front of you. I think that's probably something that it sounds like you follow quite well, which is you're not going to worry about the future, you're going to worry about now. And so therefore, as a result, you don't miss the moment.
Yeah. I think one thing that influenced my way of thinking about that, because I always knew I sucked at goals, but I was always told to set smart objectives and all the, all of that sort of stuff. And as part of uni, I had to do a project management course, and they're talking about fucking Gantt charts and all of this sort of stuff. Then I read a book called Scrum, and it talks about Toyota and the art of Kaizen, that doing and then fixing kind of thing, rather than planning and then doing. You're planning and doing at the same time. I know I butchered that. Read the book Scrum; it's good.
Yeah.
Any pictures in it?
I don't know. I don't actually read. I just listen. I can't read a book.
I think the question of obviously with goes hand in hand with rugby league, right? So body imaging. I know there's a lot of young females in rugby league that have probably copped a fair bit of it because obviously the way that they look, and they look really good. But obviously with powerlifting, what sort of advice can you give a young female who may be interested in coming to that field, but obviously, body imaging, talking about diet and all that type of stuff? Like, what type of advice would you give a young female, even a young male, who might be thinking about doing, but then also scared of making that commitment?
Yeah, I mean, the best thing to do is, this is one of the beauties of social media. Look at people who are doing it. I'm sure you'll find someone that represents the kind of person that you already are or aspire to be, and start sort of paying attention to people like that. And you'll see that there are plenty of people just like you doing the same thing and doing the things that you wish you could be doing. And I'd like to think that because powerlifting is still very much a community-based sport in the sense that it's pretty tight-knit and everyone knows each other really well, it's very uplifting and very supportive, especially for young people coming into the sport. It's one thing that I'm very proud of as far as our federation has achieved. We get kids as young as sort of 10, 11, 12 doing powerlifting now. In Mackay, the guys up in Mackay that own, so there's a Zero in Mackay, I should say, Khan, he's pioneered like a grassroots. So he played semi-professional rugby league, and he took inspiration from what they would do as far as grassroots sport, and has applied it to powerlifting. It's been successful. Now we've rolled it out at pretty much all the Zero gyms, including the international one. So we're pretty passionate about encouraging a healthy pathway for young people to get into the gym.
Nice. And what about the haters that think powerlifting isn't a real sport? What are you going to say?
This is very much a straw man question, because that assumes that there's all these haters that assume that say that powerlifting isn't a real sport. Honestly, the people that say powerlifting isn't a real sport the most are powerlifters. They just shit on themselves. It's a really quite kind of toxic attitude. The way I'd look at it is, like, if you're saying powerlifting is not a real sport in terms of commercial attention or numbers or participation or whatever, I'm like, great. That's why there's people like me putting in all the effort and the time and the love to make it more of whatever you deem a real sport is. Yep. And you can think what you want about it. I'm reaping the benefits from being in it, so I'm happy. My people are happy. All the people doing it are happy. So
yeah. Awesome.
It's funny anybody could possibly say that when we got rapping as an Olympic sport.
We saw that, how that ended.
So I guess on a personal perspective, as we get towards the end of the podcast, I'm really keen to hear your thoughts on performance enhancing drugs, and do you think they have a place in powerlifting, and what do you think of the people who use them?
Yeah, sure. I mean, some people might look at this as a bit of a loaded question. It's exactly the same as saying, like, what do you think of alcohol and the people that drink it? It's like, well, there's people that like to go home and have a glass of red on a Saturday night, and for the antioxidants. And there's people who like to drink a carton of beer a night and beat up their wife. It's very different ends of the spectrum. It's the same with steroid use. There's performance enhancing drugs. People can use them in a very healthy, safe, effective way and have no impact on their long-term health. If anything, they might have a positive impact on their long-term health, because a lot of people who engage with using performance enhancing drugs take a more serious mindset. It's like, I'm using this thing now, I better look after my sleep and my nutrition, my health, get my blood work done, pay attention to what's going on. And a lot of them end up being a lot healthier than unhealthy. And then there's the fucking clowns that do the complete opposite and run themselves into the ground and, get roid rage and all that sort of stuff. Roid rage is not really that much of a thing. It's kind of like, again, the people who are getting quote unquote roid rage are the kind of people that are drinking a carton of beer a night. They're abusing. In terms of its role in powerlifting is one of the beautiful sports where it offers the option to do tested or untested. They're doing the enhanced games, like the Olympics.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Just going to say that.
Yeah, and if you get a chance to listen to there's a Rogan podcast with the founders. The way that they sort of lay it out is very much the way that I think about it when it comes to powerlifting. I don't have any issue with people using it so long as they are not cheating. So long as if you're taking it, all right, you've committed, you're no longer ever doing a drug-tested event, because that's just straight up cheating.
That makes sense. I was going to ask you a question around pressure, but I think you've answered it as far as the chill mindset goes. But are there times when shit happens and you lose it?
I definitely don't lose it. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely trying periods, and the bigger we get, the more trying periods there are. We've gone through a lot this year.
Can you just expand on that a little bit for us, just to get people, our viewers, to understand that as the business is growing, what are some of the things that you've had to deal with?
I think it's less about the individual things going on and more about the fact that everything compounds upon each other. So just before we started, I was talking about last podcast I did with you, I spoke about New Zealand's coming. Well, that was a year ago and we're still not open. So there's been a lot of setbacks with the New Zealand gym, and that's fine in and of itself. But then when there's a staff issue in this other gym, that adds on top of it. And then when there's an unhappy staff member or an unhappy owner or an unhappy member or a member, breakdown in the gym where he says, she says, and you get dragged in. And, one of the things was two members, a relationship happened and then broke up, and then police got involved, and you kind of get dragged into all this stuff. And again, I'm the filter. All this stuff ends up here. That's when it gets challenging, when it's compounding upon each other. But then it just comes a case of like, okay, what's the most pressing thing that needs dealing with right now? Everything else gets pushed to the side, that gets dealt with, then move on to the next thing and next thing and next thing. It just becomes a carousel. It just, something gets on, something gets off.
Good answer.
Fair enough.
I know you're not a big believer in looking forward, right? I've heard that, but you're very proud of what you've created. If you could cast yourself maybe to 5 to 10 years, like where do you see your brand? Like what do you want it to be? What do you want it to represent?
I think the two things that are most important with me is that when you think powerlifting, you think zero globally, not just so our latest thing that we're really pushing is as the gyms have grown, I've needed equipment's hard to get, good powerlifting, so we make our own. And so we've just recently broken the US market. We're heading into Europe now. So I want anyone involved in powerlifting to speak our name, whether it's the brand itself in terms of our gyms and coaching or the equipment. And the other thing is to have me less and less, to have my name become irrelevant to zero. I never want people to think that zero is Thomas. Essentially, at the moment, I'm bigger than zero. People know me more than they know my brand, and I want that to be the reverse.
Nice.
So
That is absolutely fantastic. Any closing questions before we get on to things, Benny?
I suppose for any young aspiring people in the gym out there or anyone looking to get healthier, what would be just one piece of advice you could give them?
Zero.com.au, sign up for coaching. Simple. No, honestly, find a coach in your niche. Find a respected coach in your niche. Don't skimp out on the price. If someone's cheap, they probably don't know what they're doing.
Well said.
So just on that, because I'm intrigued, because I receive coaching through a number of areas of my life. I'm a massive fan of coaching. What would you say to people of the benefits of a coach?
It's a shortcut. Like, why waste your time, money, energy, potential injury risk on spinning your wheels for 3 years when you can just pay someone to get you there in 6 months? Don't you want results faster? Of course you do. Everyone wants things at the click of a finger. It's not just an investment. It's probably going to save you money in the long run by investing in a coach.
Well said.
I like that.
Yeah, prevent a lot of mistakes along the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic, mate. Quick fire questions. I know you know what these are all about. You ready?
Hit me.
Your best combined squat, bench, deadlift.
So there's 2 types of powerlifting. One is raw and one is equipped. I'm only going to say my competition numbers because gym numbers don't count, even though my gym numbers are way bigger. My best equipped is 1,012.5, which is the biggest total ever in Australia. My best raw is 835, which is dismal. In the gym, I've done closer to 900, but doesn't count. But I'm saying it anyway.
Your favourite post-workout meal?
Oh man, I eat the same meal like 3 times a day without fail year round. So
what is it?
It's just like kangaroo rice and veggies. But at the moment, I've been having these like chicken burgers. So I'm going to say chicken burgers.
What keeps you motivated?
The constant the constant nagging voice in my head saying that I've not achieved what I could have achieved. So fucking try harder.
A lesson you've learned the hard way?
Make sure that there is always an owner present as staff in your gym, because having staff that aren't owners just don't have the same buy-in.
A song you just have to sing along to.
And any song I know, I have to sing along to. Yeah, you know Tim's musical. We've got a musical family. Just love music.
What are you passionate about?
Powerlifting. I'll change that to BMX because I'm actually more passionate about BMX than powerlifting.
Do you prefer raw or equipped lifting?
Raw.
Advice you always give?
It's not about don't bite off more than you can chew. It's bite off as much as you fucking can and learn to chew like crazy.
What's been your most memorable lift?
I squatted 400 kilos in that equipped comp where I put up that total. So that was pretty special.
Yep. And where are you 5 years from now?
Hopefully with more money in the bank account.
Your favourite recovery routine?
Man, just go to bed early. That's it. Just sleep more, go to bed early.
What really annoys you?
People chewing too loud.
So you're bitten off more than you can chew. You're chewing like crazy. And
yeah, but keep your mouth closed.
I'm the same. I hate it.
Best advice you'd give to someone starting a business?
Talk to people in the same area that have achieved what you want to achieve.
So,
who's your powerlifting idol?
A guy called Dan Green.
What's a must-have skill you need to be a successful entrepreneur?
You need to have thick skin.
All right, mate, last question. Just give us a tip so valuable you'd normally charge us for it.
Fuck, you know what? I did think of this earlier. No, it's what I said earlier. It's that, and I probably wouldn't charge for this, but everyone's just making it up as they go along, including Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. They weren't qualified to run the world, but here they are. Yeah. Everyone's just making it up as they go along.
Mate, what a great way to finish. Thanks again for your time. Much appreciate your insight and your honesty.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.